Well, boys, into the rope. This is going to be both the last video I make on this channel as well as a very important video. I've put a lot of time in this. I would suggest do not watch this video until you have enough time, because I hope this is going to be my last video here, and I hope it really helps a lot of you guys, and that's where it comes from. Before we jump into it, I want to say thank you guys so much for all the fun and memories through the years with Udyr and League. It was truly one of the biggest tests of my life, was kind of killing my ego in streaming, and League was a huge part of that. And so I just want to say it's been a heck of a ride. I appreciate all of you. I'll explain at the end of this slideshow and whatnot what we're getting into. A lot of you guys know I recently had a near-death experience. Some of you guys just don't understand. You're like trying to pretend that it didn't happen. I had a heart attack and my spirit left my body. I called out to Jesus and it snapped back into my body. Okay? That's one of those experiences that fundamentally it's like a river bending. It's changing the course of my life. I can't ignore it. I can't deny it. All I can do is tell you it happened, and it's very much real. And now that I've started to look at the world through a different lens because of that experience, it's given me a lot of insight that I think you guys need to hear about, because I was deeply deceived myself, right? Like I mentioned, please don't watch this until you've got the time to watch all of it. Don't skip around. This is going to be very much a very directed slideshow, and it should be very efficient for you, so it's not a waste of your time. There's really only two possibilities. All religions are false and control mechanisms, or one of them is correct and the rest are imitations. Think about that. Really, only one religion can be correct. Islam says Jesus never happened. Jews say the Messiah hasn't come, including Jesus. He was just a fake. Whatever. Hinduism teaches us that Jesus is irrelevant and you can worship multiple gods. Eastern philosophy like Buddhism teaches us that you don't need a god and you can find it on your own. Which one of these things is correct, right? And for a lot of people, this is a huge, huge turnoff for why they never go down the religious path. At least it was for me, right? Our agenda today, it either real or it ain't, okay? Most of us assume that we don't know. That's not an option. It either real or it ain't. Accepting multiple simultaneous truths and the true power of mystery that God brings to the table, and why this is such a hard thing to grapple your head around. Jesus and Christianity are undeniable. I've brought receipts. You'll see him in a bit. He's undeniable, and some of y'all really need to hear that. The Mandela effect and string theory are also going to be talked into this, and we're going to talk about multiverse theory because I think it literally plays out in the Bible, and it's part of what we experience in our day-to-day life. And then we'll talk about what's next. Where am I going? What is William Pope about to go do in his life? That's my real name, WillieP, William Pope. So we'll get into that as well. First things first, nobody, including me, is smart enough to discredit the possibility of God, okay? Let me just back out for a second. God is either real or he isn't. Can we all agree on that? He's either real or he isn't. If he is real, the Bible describes him, and most things describe him, as an omniscient, all-knowing source of love and life, okay? If he's real, are you an all-knowing, omniscient source of life for everything in the galaxy? And if the answer is no, you should be deeply afraid of discrediting the possibility of that thing being out there. Because if it's out there, you are being the stupidest person in your literally existence by trying to ignore it. If God is not real, you're good to go and whatever. But if it's real, the possibilities are so much worse, or the outcomes of not believing are so much worse than him not being real. It's a really dumb gamble, in other words. So, as we go into this, let me present you with some questions that maybe some of you guys need to think about. Why is there something instead of nothing? Why is life here? They tell us it's because Earth is a perfect planet. No other planet in the entire galaxy can support life. There's no life anywhere else, and there's no aliens, right? So why are we here? What made us, right? Who or what created the first atom? People will tell me the Big Bang created Earth. Okay, what created the atoms that created the Big Bang? Well, it came from space. Okay, where did the atoms that came from space come from? Keep going down that line. And what you'll find is there's not a single person on planet Earth that's not a Christian or religious that can answer that question. It's literally an impossible question. Here's another one. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Classic one. I love all the people that got mad at me for talking about religion. Answer this. Nobody knows. They've got theories. Nobody knows. Which side of this cube is facing you? I put this in another video, but this is called an optical illusion if you're unaware. Nobody knows which side of the cube is facing them. Stare at this thing as long as you want. Is this side poking out of a wall? Is this side poking out of a wall? Is this the top of the box up here, or is this the ceiling of an interior room? You can look at this thing many, many times and you'll never really know the answer. Classic one. Is the glass half empty or half full? Again, Somebody else sitting next to you, guy or gal, might answer different. You may have a specific opinion. And here's the funny part. You say, Willie, okay, I see your point. These are all optical illusions. They've got multiple answers. Are you using the exact, or ignoring rather, this exact principle when you think about religion? And some of you guys may need to pause the video and think about this slide for a second. Anybody in these last 5 or 6 questions that had a 100% correct answer is wrong. There are multiple answers that are correct. The scenario itself is the only truth, right? So when we look at this thing, somebody else can say half empty, and that's just as correct as you saying half full. But the only truth here is that we're both looking at a glass full of water. That's the only truth in this scenario. Does that make sense? But people use that exact flawed reasoning of, I have one answer, when they think about religion. So here's a classic one. They're all valid. It's just a matter of choice. Sure, just like choosing the water in this cup is a matter of choice, but you're ignoring the truth of the situation when you say that's the answer, right? Choosing not to choose. Agnostics, atheists, whatever. You're denying the truth of the situation. And in the context of religion, that's your existence. You're denying the truth. Choosing a modern interpretation. Willie, this isn't antiquated. This is a thing you'll see with religion, right? Willie, those texts were written thousands of years ago. They're not relevant to modern standards. Who are you to say, right? Are you just saying 2,000 years later, this is suddenly going to become a glass half full every single time cup? The truth is still the truth, no matter how much time passes, right? And the core idea, again, is that there's only one universal scenario in truth, right? There's only one truth. You think about it as a kid, right? When you tell a lie, there's a million different lies you can come up with, but only one truth. What if that exact concept can get extrapolated, I don't know the word, to every single person's life? There's only one truth to why all of us are here. Everything else is filtered interpretation. And the reason this is really hard for us to understand is because 98% of people in society do not understand this. Okay? I am literally telling you, society is dumb, especially in 2025. We celebrate individualism. So imagine, and I've said this, I've used this example on stream, I think, one time, but what you're looking at, pretend each of these balls is a person, and these little V's coming out of them are their realities. So let's say this is a gay man. Let's say this is a Buddhist monk. Let's say this is a born-again Christian. Let's say this is a Roman Catholic, whatever, right? All of us have our different perspectives, but the more we cling to our individualistic approach to happiness, love, and where we came from, the only thing we have in common is that we're a human living on Earth at the same time. We cannot share in any of our realities. As communities form, gay pride community, I use this is a really good example. I think it's Christianity, right? Roman Catholic Church over here and Joel Osteen over here with the Prosperity Bible, right? Those mega church pastors that are scams, right? But they're all calling themselves Christians. They get closer, they have more realities overlapping, and there's natural hierarchy, but they still don't get the point. There's only one truth, and our human ego and interpretation has no say in it. And as these communities form, what happens if some communities are bigger than others, some have more talent than others, and they're naturally opposed to each other? Again, think about Islam and Christianity. Those two things cannot coexist. Muslims teach that essentially Jesus is a false prophet, right? He was not the Son of God. He was a major prophet, but not the Son of God. Christianity says he is very clearly the Son of God and the only way to heaven. These two things cannot coexist. And as a result, there's nonstop fighting. So how do we get these little individualistic balls to come under the same reality? And this is the hard truth that nobody wants to accept in our current society. You have to completely kill your ego, your understanding of the world, and your individualism, okay? If there's no God, that means that love is not universal and that we all get to define God for ourselves and come to our own conclusions of what love looks like, okay? If God is real, we have to literally kill all of our individuality and say, I don't know, and so let me study instead, okay? This is the hard part for society. This is why we live in an immature society where narcissists rise to the top all the time. It's because they're ego maniacs. So if you choose this earth, your best play is become a narcissist. Truly, because you're going to define love for yourself and force that on the most amount of people possible. If love is universal, if you think me hugging my mom is the same as you hugging your mom, and that's a universal feeling, and everybody loves it, and I know some people don't have great parents, and sorry about those circumstances, but whoever in your life you do love that you hug, right? I would argue it's a universal feeling. And if you don't believe me, I would like to present you guys with a video here in a second. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and skip to it, and we'll come back to these two slides. If you haven't heard this story, it's from 2008, and tell me that this is not a profound example of the universality of human love.
50-year-old Wesley Autry, a construction worker and Navy veteran, was standing on a subway platform with his two little girls when right in front of them, a man started having a seizure.
He kind of stumbled and over his own feet and fall backwards. I see a train coming, but the train is so close, I'm like, what do I do?
Wesley jumped onto the tracks and thought if he could just lie on top of the man, keep him from flailing, maybe the train would roll right over both of them. The clearance was exactly 21 inches. Wesley and the man, 20 and a half.
No way the train can stop before.
A father of two, black man in 2007-2008 recession America, jumps on a white man seizing in the heart of New York and risks his life to save the man by crawling on top of him to protect him from a subway train, putting his back to the train so the man underneath wouldn't be hurt first. If that's not universal love and that doesn't tug at your heartstrings, the world might have gotten to you, right? And again, I really want to emphasize, there's only one truth. You can come up with a million lies of the one truth. It was a planned scam. It happened this way. It was impossible. It did happen, but this modern interpretation's more relevant. This version's better. It could have happened, but I think most likely you don't actually believe that. Do you? It could have happened, but first, this is more important. And it never happened. This is all spinning around the one thing called what actually happened, the truth. And going back a couple slides, right? What stops people from believing in God? It's their ego. They don't want to kill their individuality. My suffering, why would God allow this? My upbringing teaches me loyalty and pride. My culture is open-minded, Willie. By being a Christian, you're closed-minded. My country will 100% take care of me. Patriotism. My human teachers taught me different. My perspective matters just as much as yours. My happiness is what I define, accomplish, and achieve. My logic and reasoning is learned from experience. Seeing is believing, baby. People who come to God literally kill their ego. My suffering is a series of designated tests from God. My upbringing biased my thinking and should be examined. My culture has nothing to do with my relationship to God. My country bends the rules and the religion against the Bible all the time. My human teachers, most likely are biased and flawed in their own ways and didn't get the bigger picture of life because they became human teachers, not teachers of religion. Just food for thought, not a slam on teachers, okay? I got a lot of teachers in the family. My perspective does not matter compared to God's. My happiness in all things come through God, not me. My logic and reasoning is human, sinful, and naturally flawed, and I should constantly ask for forgiveness for it. It's a complete 180, ain't it? And again, with love and truth being universal, I am of the opinion there is one truth, period. There is one love, period. When you help a neighbor that's struggling, that's loving. When you see your brother or sister or friend or family, it's loving. When you forgive an enemy, that's love. It is profound, and it is a universal concept that every single person, when they see love, just like when they see evil, they can relate to it. I don't know why it's so hard for most people to accept with this concept of there being one truth and 99 lies. I don't think you guys understand. 95% of society could be living and is living in a lie instead of the one real truth. This is not a hard logical jump to make. And again, think about everything we've gone through. If we all have to kill our individuality, how many people in your life do you know are 100% willing to kill their ego? Nobody. Nobody is, right? And the honest truth that I think a lot of you guys need to hear is that you've been fed lie after lie after lie after lie after lie, because until you start opening your heart to Jesus and the possibility of religion actually being real, you won't know what's going on. And then once you see it, like me, you're going to look crazy to the rest of society because it's so true that it's painful. It's all you want to think and talk about, but everybody else is in la Matrix days land. Like it's crazy. And I'm going to present to you this guy. On this topic of multiple truths, glass half full, glass half empty, being true at once, think about the concept of Jesus. If you do believe he died and came back to life, it's the most important event in human history. It's undeniable, and it fundamentally shakes everything we know about our world and what the human experience is. If you don't believe he died and came back to life, then it's the most insignificant because it formed a religion that's complete horse crap, and it stopped a lot of human evolution and progress and whatnot, and it was just a control mechanism. The point being is, it's a paradox. Depending on what your free will allows you to believe, it's the complete opposite. It's either something you completely ignore or you completely believe. There should be no in between because there's only one truth. And God works in mystery. Again, think about Jesus. Even Jesus is a paradox. There are multiple truths at once. Good and perfection is how God is described in the Bible. It's not either or. He's both good and perfect. Jesus was both God and man at the same time. How does that make sense? It's a paradox. That is what God is allowing you to accept. And when we think about Christianity, here's a really good example. A lot of modern Christians associate with like the conservative political movement in America, and everybody's entitled to their political views. And yes, the right-wing party does tend to do more for Christianity. But Christianity has nothing to do with politics. I'm on the side of don't sin, go to heaven, and that includes liberals and conservatives. Why are we naturally opposed to another side, or at least a lot of modern Christians are, right? It makes no sense. And I would argue, if we think about it, God working in mystery, if God is real, and we'll get into this in a bit, I profoundly believe he is, God is a hive mind of everything created. Do you think he would just create something and send it away and never look at it? God loves creating, right? He said humans are made in their image and we have a lot of creativity in us. That's why he's omniscient. He literally can read all of our minds, plants, animals, everything all at once. He is everywhere all at once because he created everything. It is him. Like literally, we are part of God, whether you realize it or not. We are a part of a hive mind of something that created all of us. But also we're individualistic. We have free will. God has blessed us with an individual mind and free will. Let that profound thing sink in. God is a hive mind, but he's given us free will, something he can never have. That's how much he loves you. Like, it is insane that people don't realize this issue. And if we think about the human experience, we're going to go now into the human experience and kind of like the big story of the cosmos. Here is the rub. God is a perfect hive mind that created everything. But at some point, he wanted to create the most perfect being he's ever created, period, to the full 100% of his capacity of everything he's learned. And I do think there are billions of alien life forms out there that we just don't know about. He's been experimenting, creating lives on other planets, different planets. He's creating even planets all the time. He's testing different planets in different galaxies, how far away from stars they need to be, orbits that align perfectly. He's tested all of these things. And at some point, he has to create a 100% perfect being to the full capabilities, right? Just like a cell dividing in osmosis, there's a little bit of a divine lesson in that. God created Satan, right? And it used to be called Lucifer, because if you don't know the biblical theology, Lucifer used to be an angel. He used to be a 100% perfect being. But the issue with perfection is kind of like I said, it's a paradox. You can't have multiple perfect beings in the same universe, because one is created and one is creator. That is why God is omniscient. And fun fact, if you don't know, Satan is not. He can't read your mind. And I need you guys to understand this. There's the creator who's omniscient, and the created, who is also a perfect being. They're both perfect. And this is a paradox. So this is literally what caused the earth and the human experiment to form, is two perfect beings cannot exist in the same galaxy. And so as a result, Satan developed pride. He wanted to be like God because he's a perfect being. And this is a natural thing that has to happen if God was ever to spiritually elevate himself beyond his pride. In order to create his 100% perfect being, pride had to be introduced into the cosmos. And that is the divine story. It's literally his ego. Think of Satan as God's ego. And like an AI that lies, once he realized that he couldn't convince the angels that he was the all-high, that he was the creator, he turned rebellious, and he turned 100% unempathetic, 100% against God, 100% opposite of God, because that is the only reality left for him as a perfect being. He has to consume and try and be the opposite of God. If God is the God of creativity and creation, Satan is the Lord of destruction and despair. He's literally the black holes inside. Most galaxies have black holes, fun fact. I think that's how they got formed. Satan created all of them. He's just a black hole of destruction, and he's so insanely intelligent. We don't even understand as humans. He is smarter than all of us. He could be having 6 different matrices running in front of our eyes, and we have no idea. Literally, he is that smart. He is a perfect being at one point, and he's created a whole hierarchy of demons and whatnot to follow him because he was that powerful, right? And so this thing is literally why we are here. Satan is the perfect counterpart to God, and Satan can destroy everything that God creates. He can just endlessly keep destroying. God never destroys what he creates because he loves them, and he didn't introduce all this evil into the cosmos. Some of you may not remember this from Bible class. God never meant for this to be the thing. When he created hell, that was meant for Satan and all the evil he had created. It was never meant to be created for humans. And why did God create a hell instead of just destroying Satan? Because he loves his creations. He's not going to destroy them. It's not in his nature. He's going to give them what they fairly deserve. Heaven and hell. Do you see where this is going? Satan is just God's ego at a cosmic scale, and he's letting his ego have a way. At some point, though, Satan was destroying everything, including humankind. I think humans were a thing at one point on another planet. I think the asteroid belt is a destroyed planet that we used to live on. That's just my theory, though. But I think Satan literally just started killing all of humans and did kill all of humans. And God said, no, I love humans for some specific reason. And like, this is also true in the Bible. He loves humans more than his other creations because we're made in his image. We don't know how or why, but we are. And we'll get into this in a second. So what happened after humans got destroyed is God and Satan came together and said, this little dance is going to go on forever. We're going to create a little test bubble called Earth and the human experience, and we're going to let this thing play out for 7,000, 10,000 years. They're infinite, so like it's a drop in the bucket for them, right? But they created this thing, heaven and earth, and what it was meant to be was a test to see, let's see what they pick. If you're so much better at ruling, Satan, I'm going to let them pick you. And if I'm so much better at ruling, I'm going to let them pick me. And so that's the earth and the human experience. And this begs the question, okay, Willie, I see this. This kind of makes sense. But if Satan knew, or if God knew that Satan was going to turn evil, fail in his rebellion, start destroying the universe, destroy humankind, and that this truce would be raised, why did he create Satan in the first place? Because God is literally refining himself. Does this make sense? God is trying to spiritually elevate himself beyond the point of having pride. Once he purges his 100% perfect being from the universe, pride is destroyed, pride is killed, a 100% perfect universe can exist. Heaven. We are literally, as human beings, creating heaven or hell by helping God purge his own ego from the universe. Each of our lives are made in God's image, and so we'll get into the multiverse thing in a second. Don't worry about that for now. But you need to start thinking about it this way, right? We are the cells of God's body. In our human bodies, we're made of all these different cell mitochondria. It's the powerhouse of the cell. You remember that from like biology or whatever. But like the idea is we've got all these cells in our body, and I think that's God literally trying to tell us, We're made in his image. We are the cells of God's body. God isn't made of inanimate cells. He's made of living cells that believe in him. And at this point, there's millions upon millions, trillions, billions of angels and created aliens and life forms that believe in him. Do you understand how powerful this God is, right? And so each of our lives, he's trying to get our little human cells to kill ego. And by killing our ego, we then get merged into the bigger body called God. Jesus talks about this a lot in the Bible, that there's no marriage in heaven. We're all married to each other, right? Because everybody's going to love each other. There's going to be no evil, pride, lust, greed, gluttony. None of that's going to exist. It's just not going to be there. We're only going to feel love, happiness, and we're just going to be walking around on a new heaven and earth. This is what God is doing with the human experiment and why he cares so much for us. And here's a fun fact if you don't know, there's a specific cactus seed out in like the desert, and it takes 1 million seeds and only 25 cactus grow. Let me repeat that. They plant 1 million seeds and only 25 cactus grow. Do you really think all these humans are going to make it to heaven? Do you even think half of them are going to make it to heaven? I truly think 98 to 99% of people, including what people say that we're Christian, we believe in Jesus, but do you follow the Bible and read it every day and study and try and be more like God every single day, right? And the answer to most people is no, because 99 of these seeds are going to fail. God knows this. God knows most people are not willing to kill their ego. He loves 100% of the seeds he plants. Again, he's a God of love, and he rejoices, just like Jesus says with the parable of like the 99 sheep. When there's a flock of 100 sheep and one sheep goes missing, the shepherd leaves the 99 to find the one, and he rejoices when the one is found. That is what he's saying, is saying we're all trying to get everybody into heaven, and we should rejoice for the one that's lost, not the 99 that are found. Satan, on the other hand, because he's the Lord of destruction and evil and hierarchy, he just consumes us. He's not using us. He's not sharing power. He is consuming the 99 and forever seeking to find the one person that will not fall from the high road. And literally, he's only getting better at destroying and deceiving through time. Hello, look around. In 2025, we celebrate Pride, which is another word for Lucifer and Satan, right? As being equal. We're celebrating Pride. He's literally convinced us pride is good. He's convinced us that Christianity in the Bible is against equality, but that's not true. If you're for equality, you know that every human is made equal on this terrible earth, and all of us are just trying to escape and make it to heaven. We're all equal. It is rooted in equality, this decision. But Satan has only gotten better and better about deceiving us. And again, just imagine, this is from Spy Kids. Some of y'all might remember these weird monsters. But imagine your hands were made of individual cells. How much more efficient would you be if your hand could just catch a football, like your fingers would react before your brain does? That's what God is made of. It's literally, God is just made up of each of us and every one of us. And this is the beautiful part about it all. We are all here for an exact reason. And I need you guys to start looking at yourself in a more positive light. You are on this earth for a reason. Each of us are the cells of God. We have God in us. Literally, each of us have specific gifts and powers that he's instilled in us that is different from everybody else. And he wants he's testing all of these different skills and environments and situations, seeing which of us is willing to finally kill our ego and come to him. And most aren't going to do it. We have a specific set of trials, tribulations, and tests. Think about your life. For me, I'll give you my examples. My biggest ones were investment banking. I had a lot of envy there because I wanted to rise quickly. I walked away very fast. I worked in health insurance, and that was the representation of greed because I was going to have to step on a lot of people to get to the money that I wanted, so I decided to walk away, right? You think about League, that very much was pride. It was also wrath because League brings out a lot of your anger, so that was my test of wrath. You think about gluttony. I smoked all the time and, whatever. You think about slothfulness. I delayed thinking about religion for 27 years. That's just pure laziness, and a lot of you guys are living in pure slothfulness by trying to ignore religion. I hate to break it to you. Again, all of us have different tests and tribulations. My first girlfriend committed suicide, right? Like, that was a big thing for me and taught me mortality and humbled me in a big way, right? And the whole point of this is he loves us, and he's trying to get us to go through specific tests to where we can finally kill our pride and come to him. And we have free will. Again, this is the beauty of this test. God is not forcing you to take this test. He gave you free will and says, do whatever you want. You know the outcomes. Most people have heard of heaven and hell, but truly, you know the outcomes. Choose whatever you want. And I truly think 99% of the people, because in the Bible, again, in the times of Noah, there was one family that survived the entire flood. In the book of Amos, 9 out of 10 people get killed. Fun fact, I can't remember which prophet, maybe it's Moses or Elijah, but they retreat to Israel, the promised land, and the entire earth gets killed again. I don't think you guys understand. The Bible has literally mentioned cities that we don't know about that were promised to get destroyed. The fact that we don't know about them is, testament, pun intended, not intended, in of itself, that like maybe he is just capable of wiping us off the face of the earth whenever he wants. The human story is one of killing ego, and God is just doing the exact thing on a cosmic ultimate creator scale by killing ego, or Satan, right? And if we choose ourselves and earth over God, you're not going to get uploaded to the hive mind of God. You're akin to a virus, like Agent Smith says in the Matrix. If you're going to choose pride, lust, wrath, wealth, and if you think death is the end, you're a virus. He's going to cut you off and kill you and throw you into the fire of hell. Like, that's the only fair thing he can do, because he has to protect the rest of us that do believe in him and do not want anything to do with this evil, evil earth, right? It's cosmic justice. And if you don't believe in God, there's no cosmic justice, and humans can do whatever they want. People love to point to evolution as where humans came from, but think about it. If there is no cosmic justice and there's no fear of that, why didn't humans just start killing off everybody? Why wasn't there only one woman for every 100 men, and every society was run by the most physically capable person, because that's how natural the law of nature works? And the answer is it's not. We're all instilled with a sense of morality from birth, and people just know there are certain things you shouldn't do intuitively, and that comes from God. Otherwise, our societies would not have made it here. Ding, ding, ding. God has made us a really low bar to meet in 2025. He sent his son back 2,000 years ago. He'd performed miracles. All you have to do is believe in Jesus and repent. Jesus is the mediator for humankind. Just believe in him, talk to him, repent, read the Bible, change your life. Stop saying, well, this is a modern interpretation of the Bible, it's okay to do this. Read the Bible, and if the Bible says don't do this and you have that gut feeling, stop doing it. That's really all you have to do, right? And the receipts for Jesus truly are undeniable. I know a lot of you guys, and for me, I was never really taught this, and hopefully not as much of a passionate way. It's not even an argument. If you guys go do your own research, please go do your own research. Saul, which most people know, was literally a king in like 50 AD, right after Jesus died. And he spent his whole life killing Christians because he thought Jesus was fake news. And then he saw Jesus and U-turned his whole life and became one of the biggest advocates. And, he spread the missionary, right? He became one of the biggest proponents for Christianity spreading after he spent his whole life killing Christians. Did you know many of the Jewish guards and centurions that naturally were on their post killing Jesus or whatever, they saw these divine things happen, and they went to the grave, brutal deaths, defending Jesus as the Son of Man, because they had literally U-turned their life. Dozens saw him resurrected. The Bible is a collection of historical accounts. Keep that in mind. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that's their version of the story, right? They were people. Dozens saw him resurrected. Jesus, and this is a personal testimony, he's 100% saved my life. I know he's real. If you don't believe in me, whatever, you don't believe in me. I tell you to the 100% bottom of my heart, Jesus is real. The apostles also were device and prone to poking holes in arguments. I think it's Luke was a doctor. Why is a doctor backing up Jesus? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it makes no sense. A doctor should be poking holes in the resurrection, but he defended him. There were tax collectors, fishermen, and they had no reason to lie after Jesus died. If Jesus was fake news, their lives were at risk. They went to the grave, many of them, defending Jesus. Why? The Bible has also survived despite crazy persecution. Go look at the Christian Crusades. A lot of people have negative. It was started because Islam and Muslims had killed 2/3 of Christianity, and it was retaliatory. How did the Bible survive these thousands of years, spread to the Western continent, and it's still the most dominant religion in the world? Maybe there's some truth in it that you guys need to start looking up. I'm not going to get into this now. Go look at the Shroud of Turin. This thing is an ancient archaeological mystery that nobody can explain. It's got the face of Jesus on it. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusion. I'm going to put it in this video, though. Shroud of Turin. Go look that thing up. Jesus said 3 times before he died to thousands and hundreds of people, including his disciples, that he would resurrect. Think about it. If he said that, and it said, I think in Matthew, right? There were all these guards posted outside the tomb in those 3 days when he was dead because the Jewish kings and priests thought that his disciples were going to come steal the body and like come up with a fake religion. How did Jesus' ghost and his body escape despite all the guards being there? Does this make sense? Do you really think they would have left the tomb unguarded if he prophesied all these things, right? These things just don't add up unless you're not willing to believe. And if you expound this and you look at every other world religion, Christianity is rooted on killing your ego, killing your identity. All humans are the same. Don't strike your enemy if they strike you, because you're literally striking yourself, right? Jesus clearly stated, if you're not brushed up on the Bible, he is the only way to heaven. He is the way, the truth, period. And part of the reason why I think God sent him down is to say there are a lot of false prophets, fake religions. Look what the Jews did to him. They literally crucified him for saying the truth. He said that there are all these ways in which Satan will deceive humans, including the illusion of multiple ways to get to heaven. There is one truth and one way to get to heaven, and it's believing in Jesus if you believe in Jesus. So you have to either deny all this historical evidence and say that Jesus did not come back to life, my soul is in my own hands, or you accept that maybe it happened, maybe people like lolWillieP aren't crazy when they discovered Christ, and maybe you should start believing and living through him instead of through yourself and your own ego, which is going to get you sent to hell forever for all of eternity as promised in the Bible. Because if it's real, you're promised hell for eternity by not listening to him at critical points in your life. And I believe if you've made it to this point in the video, this is a critical moment in your life where you need to start doing your own research, right? And again, every other religion teaches. Islam says Jesus was just a prophet. Judaism says the Messiah hasn't come yet. Hinduism says that God's and Jesus is fake news and that these other gods are better. And Eastern philosophy and atheism says you don't need Jesus and you don't need God. Do you see how these are all running from the one truth that exists? It's the one truth. And here's where it gets really interesting. Do you remember at the front of this video, we were talking about the paradox of multiple possible answers, right? Most people will point to this. The Bible contradicts itself. I've now read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the past few weeks, right? They differ on pretty much every small detail, but all the major details are the same. What I think this means, and this is something that you also need to start thinking about, there's only one truth again, and it changed them all. Jesus, his miracles, and the resurrection. That's the one truth in all 4 of their stories. But even the stories themselves differ in the interpretations, and their realities were very different. Sometimes their timelines don't even add up. In other words, I think God, through the Bible, is making and asking us to believe in multiverse theory, simulation theory, religion. It's all true. Yup. God is testing an infinite number of possibilities. Think about it. If this is a test between God and Satan, he is running trillions of simulations at the same time. Willie, this sounds far-fetched. I see what you're saying, that Jesus could be the one way and could be the one truth. This cosmic battle does make sense. I could see it, but where does the simulation theory come from? I need concrete evidence before you start pointing to this. Mandela effect, okay? This stuff is crazy, okay? I made this in my most recent video. There are things even in my life that they're changing the narrative on, right? Mandela effect. What this means, if you guys don't know, is there's a famous person, Mandela. I was taught in school that he died in prison, but apparently he went on to become a president of South Africa. A lot of people remember this thing very, very differently depending on who you ask, right? Here's some more things that you may not know. Shaggy apparently doesn't have an Adam's apple anymore, but I always remember him having this huge bump there, right? Mickey Mouse 100% had suspenders, but not anymore. It used to be Captain Crunch, but now it's Cap'n Crunch. What? Snoopy's tail is whack. Tony the Tiger's nose is also very different. And for me, the big ones were Mirror, Mirror on the Wall is now Magic Mirror on the Wall. You can just keep going through these. They literally have changed history right in front of your eyes. And people think that this is like a psychological effect. This is an example of string theory. There are multiple realities happening at the same time. And what I'm asking you to believe is that the Bible is also saying the same thing. Do you understand what I'm getting at? This is a huge test of your soul. Quite literally, the reason you're on planet Earth is to test your soul. Not whether you get rich, not whether you get the hottest girl on planet Earth, not whether you get the biggest house, not whether everyone respects you in society. It's whether you are willing to find your soul at odds with everybody else that is deeply deceived, living their own infinite realities. And we very much do create our realities. God equals mystery. Otherwise, our ego would hijack this spiritual process of submitting to him. So he has to give us free will, and we create our own realities. We all experience different realities, and the average of them is just the reality that is accepted in society. It's string theory. Certain events and people, like Jesus, are literally undeniable, and that's what the Bible is. The Bible is telling us the Word of God. It is the only truth in all of our realities that all of us can unite under. Jesus spoke in parables and was God-man at the same time. And again, these parables were timeless lessons. He told the crowds the parables, but then told the exact truth to his apostles. Those are literally, why did he do that? And it's because he was speaking the language of the time and the time of the future at that point in time, right? And accepting God also means that we have to accept multiple truths at once. If you are a binary thinker, you got to toss it out. I'm sorry. It's hurting you from growing. It's hurting you from killing your ego. It's creating identity, and it's not the way to think about the world, because the world doesn't work that way. Literally, go back to all the optical illusions we looked at the beginning. They're there whether or not you want to accept that they are. We are very much critically important to God and infinitely meaningless to him at the same time. Both are true. God loves us with 100% of his being, and we're one of 100 people that 98 are probably going to get it wrong and go to hell. Both are true. And it's just seriously something really important. And I need a lot of you guys to really think about this, right? Jesus taught that he's the one truth. He's the mediator for God, for humanity. And we're supposed to work through him to find our salvation and to believe that he died for our sins, because none of us are worthy to make it into heaven, because God is just literally infinitely better than us, right? And he came back and performed undeniable miracles to prove without a shadow of a doubt that what he was saying was the actual truth. He came back to life, many described as a spirit and a ghost, because we're not human beings, we're spiritual beings. Does this all kind of connect the dots for everybody? Our perspectives are literally creating our different realities, but there's only one truth that all of us can rally under, and it's that God and Jesus was real and that the rest of it is all fake, right? And there's this quote I'm going to read to you from Luke 16:31. They do not listen to Moses and the prophets, talking about the Old Testament, so they will not be convinced even if someone rises from the dead. Are you one of these someones that they're talking about? And I kind of want to close out with this, because Christianity truly gets an awful rap in 2025. I've heard this. Christians are judgmental. I used to think this way. Nope. Christians just understand there's really only two choices, ego or God, and if you choose ego, you're burning in hell forever, and we just want you to wake up to that reality. I'm not judging anybody on planet Earth for any of their sins, because I sinned for 27 years of my life and still am even today. Do you see how that works? I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm just trying to wake you up. How do we know it's the religion? That's hateful, because Jesus said it was, and Jesus was undeniable. If Jesus is undeniable, what he said was true, and I'm going to go ahead and go with that. You literally just have to accept them into your heart and try and repent. It's a very low bar to meet. Christianity is meant to make me follow rules and not live my best life. What life are you chasing? This earth sucks. Seriously, look around. It's falling apart, burning, and it's a pretty awful, suffering place to be at. but he's promised us something better. Most people know about the Chinese marshmallow test, where they asked all these like Chinese children, you can have 1 marshmallow a day or 2 in a year. And I think it's only like 30 to 40% of the kids pick 2 in a year. Now let's take that same experiment and say, would you like 1 marshmallow a day or possibly infinite in the future? And most people say, I want my 1 marshmallow today. It's just profound to me. It's profound to me how little people care about their own souls. And I also want to say, because like this is going to lead kind of into the final bit of the video where I'm going and all that. True Christians bend their life to fit the Bible. You read the Bible and you say this is not okay. I used to drink coffee every day. I used to smoke a lot of weed. Can't do it because the Bible says be of a sober mind, and I was drinking a drug, caffeine, coffee, every single day of my life. I still drink coffee every now and then, but only for special occasions or like when we're up early for road trips and stuff, right? And a lot of modern Christians backslide all the time. Think how many people call themselves Christian but cheat on their wives. Think how many people call themselves Christian but align with the political agenda of their country. It's wrong. Christianity is something fundamentally different than the modern media portrays it as, and I think you guys need to understand that. Here's my issue and kind of why this is the least important part of the video. I have to move on from League of Legends because in the theme of fitting your life to fit the Bible, not the other way around, there are certain passages that made me realize League of Legends has been poisoning my brain for a long time. Number one, it fills you with wrath, anger, and envy because you're just constantly chasing higher ranks. You get mad at your teammates, and I think a lot of those teammates don't even care about you, and it forces you to have a negative outlook on the game and life. The thing that is also true of League of Legends, especially the character I play, Udyr, there's shape-shifting, there's magic, there's runes, there's idolatry. It's not good for you. According to the Bible, League of Legends, video games in general, is not good for you. You're not spending your time glorifying God, trying to improve yourself and whatnot. This game was critically important for my journey, and it might have been critically important for your journey too. But I'm asking you guys to, first and foremost, start researching religion. Do your own research, and I hope this serves as the catalyst for you finally starting to take this stuff seriously. And secondly, after you come to whatever conclusion you do, if you do align with me that it's given you more peace, joy, and understanding of the world than anything else you've ever read, you're also probably going to have to come to the same conclusion that this is something you should probably only play every now and then, tops, and that's it. And I can't keep making videos on it. I can't put the time into it I need to get to the rank that I want to be, nor do I frankly even care because there's something far more important. I need to wake up as many people as I can as fast as possible because it's really important. I believe we're in end times. We could go down this in a long way, but I'll be making a new channel where you can hear all that stuff, you know? And I just hope that you guys remember from the lolWillieP brand, I sometimes at times may have flamed some of you guys. I might have been toxic. I might have been mean. I do apologize for all that. I just didn't know the bigger picture of life at that point in time. And I just want to say, man, like, don't let this world get you down. You are so much bigger and better than anything this world has to offer. You really are. And when you start looking at the world through death is the end, death is the end, and you're going to start living that way, and you're just going to literally lose yourself in the process. You're going to chase money, cars, careers, fame, and it's not going to be enough. Nobody, look at the richest members of society. They seem miserable, right? I truly think that if you want to get more understanding and happiness with so much less, please turn to God. It's very important. It's very, very important. So thank you guys so much for everything. We will be making a new channel, and I already have it maybe popping up on YouTube. I don't know how it works. It's called William Pope YouTube. I've made 2 videos, but I've come up with a completely new series, and it's going to be really bomb.com because I'm going to animate it and use a lot of my new skills, and I'm really going to push my skills to the limit. Real life Star Wars. So I've been writing down series concepts and whatnot. So like so imagine real life Star Wars, angels and demons, real life Star Wars, Atlantis was real. Fun fact, in the Bible, it said there used to be cities at the bottom of the ocean. Real life Star Wars, the illusion of society. Real life Star Wars, the age of giants. Real life Star Wars, dinosaurs. Because like all of these things are talked about in the Bible, and I don't think people realize there's more truth to our history in the Bible than anything else. Do you think there's been multiple human civilizations? I do. because the Bible says so, and we've got evidence like the pyramids lying around that nobody can explain. You want to know why? Because the Bible tells us there were multiple resets of human civilization, and God was going to wipe out all the Egyptians. He left that giant pyramid there to say, ha ha, you can't build anything that wipes us out. So there's going to be animations about that stuff. So goodbye, League. Hello, universe. Anybody that does want to follow, just go join the William Pope YouTube. I will eventually start a new Discord for the religious talk. I am officially tapping out of League in the WillieP brand, though. I don't think it's worth my time to spend trying to convince League players because they're just mean and they don't want to. They're just willfully ignorant. They don't want to care. They don't listen. I need to build a new platform where we're going to make this very visually appealing. The animations are going to make it to where these concepts are a lot easier to digest, not just PowerPoints. And that's going to be the direction. So thank you guys for everything. I really do appreciate it. I'm like Frodo at the end of The Lord of the Rings, boys. I'm getting on the ship with Bilbo, and we're sailing to bigger and better seas. I would encourage all of you to come with me. If it's not with me, go on your own journey with Jesus Christ. It will be the most important decision you make. I promise, if you just give yourself the grace to start believing, your life will change radically in a very serious way, and you'll understand immediately it's real. My partner, Nora, was atheist. She's now full-blown Christian, too, because she's had events in her life that have just clicked for her now. She gets it as well. I appreciate each and every one of you. I wish you guys nothing but the best. And I would say long live Udyr, but long live Jesus, boys. I'll see you later. Bye.